You need a great opener, like somehow we're adults. Do.
We can record that right
some
now.
Kind of like
we can record that right now.
Everybody be quiet.
Somehow we're adults.
So, on today's episode of Danny and Ryan, I was saying that we should do a podcast on why date nights are important. Because, life gets busy, gets stressful, and you get so worried about making sure you have everything done that you forget to actually like each other sometimes. And I think it's important to have date nights.
Agree.
What do you think? Why are date nights important to you? As I fix the microphone for her, if you hear that, she's terrible about being on the microphone, so sorry about that.
It's weird. Okay. Just as a whole, like, I feel like it benefits your relationship. Like, you spend quality time together, you have like a specific carved out time to dedicate to your other person without any interruptions, which I feel like you don't get on the day-to-day life.
Yeah. I mean, just speaking for us in our day-to-day life, like, we stay so busy with all of our hobbies that, like, dishes will pile up or laundry won't get done, or like, I mean, just special little annoying projects that, like, you have to carve an hour out for. Mm-hmm. Like, those get put off, and we'll save that part, the idea of like scheduling your
and planning
stuff,
and
yeah,
being organized.
Well, we'll save that for a podcast, for another idea, or another podcast, rather. And but we just get so busy with doing everything, and then trying to hang out with our friends and work 5 days a week, do jujitsu. I mean, we just get so busy for good reason. But then, like, you'll make the little things stress you out. Like, oh my gosh, I got to go pick up the limbs in the yard, or like just little insignificant shit that you forget that the person you're with needs attention too. And just like all those other projects, like, you have to plan to give that other person attention, because I don't know about you, but I'd rather have dirty dishes, dirty laundry, the bed not made, yeah, I know she's shaking her head no, but I'd rather have all of that stuff be bad and have a good relationship than the other way around.
I'm working on that part.
Yeah.
But no, I think just as a whole, it kind of grounds you, because you can go 5 days a week seeing each other in the morning and afternoon, but if all you're doing is to do stuff,
existing, literally,
you're gonna be like, I haven't seen you all week. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we're just coexisting, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're just literally
roommates,
like,
basically,
we're literally like, hey, like, did you do that? Can you do that? Okay, I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, you're just like my work partner.
Exactly. Which is not the goal. I mean, it is, but it's not.
I think it's important. Date nights are important because you get to carve out time to just sit back and enjoy each other. And dates, one of the things I wanted to focus on too on this podcast was talking about how the dates don't have to be expensive. Mm-mm. They don't have to be, what was that?
Not me, after you told me to turn my phone off.
Sorry, it was me. Was it me?
It was me.
Oh, it was you. Oh. But I think date nights are important in that, like, you don't have to make, I mean, one of our favorite date night ideas is just getting one cup of coffee, splitting it, and then driving around. Mm-hmm. Because, like, there's, you get stuck in this path of, like, this is how I get to and from work. And you see all those houses all the time, and then you're like, where I haven't driven down in a while, and then you just go drive in a place that you used to go to in, like, high school or something like that, and then you just drive around in the area and check it out. Like, that's one of my...
That's a you thing, because I'm a passenger princess, so I don't know anything about directions or...
Agreed. But it's nice to go out, especially, like, being that we're in, like, Central Florida, like, so much development has happened in the last 3 years, and, like, we haven't gone and looked at it. Yeah, and we haven't gone and looked at it. And sometimes it's just nice to go and be like, wow, look at how much this area changed. Like, how whenever we go, like, get coffee or something like that with one of my grandparents, and we go to Tampa, and they're like, we're in Tampa driving around, and she goes, that actually used to be the post office, and there was none of these, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's going to be us when we're that age, because we're driving around now doing, like, oh man, none of these houses were here. But yeah,
I think it's important, even as simple as, like, we'll go on, like, little walks. Mm-hmm. Like, that helps a ton, just carving out that specific time to, like, talk about, like, nothing specific.
Yeah, just to spend time with each other.
You gotta have fun too, and I feel like if you're just going through to-do lists, that can be very mundane.
Yeah, for certain. I think that another cheap idea for a date, and it doesn't always have to be going out to dinner. Like, how many times have we just went and like got an ice cream from like Cold Stone and just split
It's
that?
like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, because we're spending $8. I mean, in this economy, $8 is, you know, some people will spend that on a drink every day of the week, and I'm like, you can just go get an $8 ice cream and split it between the two of you guys, and then A, it helps us stick to our fitness goals, and then B, it's like helps us stick to our financial goals, and then C,
Like
we get to spend time with each other.
We've gone gym dates, like where we'll just go to the gym together.
Yep. Like on a Friday night too. Like that was weird. Like
what do we
we're not
do?
normal. Like our Friday nights, typically our date nights end up being Thursdays, just out of convenience.
Or Ozark.
Yeah, we started watching Ozark too. Just
so good.
Yeah, because we're you know, I can't speak for other couples, but we're such a busy couple that like we don't ever sit down to watch TV together. So like we have to carve out like time to watch TV.
Like it probably took us 2 years to finish Better Call Saul.
Well, yeah, Better Call Saul while it was coming out, and we were watching that on Netflix. So it was like we could only watch one season at a time until it was all out, and then
I mean, the last season came out when we were on our honeymoon.
No, we
Wasn't it?
that was the second to last season on our honeymoon, I believe. It was like season whatever the last one was, the one before that. But I mean, the things that I get out of it is like I'm like you said, we just get so into this, like this is my, like I'm coexisting with this person.
Yep.
And then we're both forced to sit and ignore the other stuff that's constantly picking at our brains. And I think there's value in that too, and just realizing like these are the more important moments than making sure that the freaking, you know, the back porch is pressure washed. You know what I mean? Just dumb shit like that.
It puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like especially for women who are like me.
Yeah.
That like everything needs to be done. Like there's a constant to-do list, constantly like 80 tabs open in my brain.
Yeah.
I feel like if we don't have that specific like just relax, like we're not doing anything that's like,
Especially with the hobbies too. Because we can spend so much time on our hobbies, between you making like your bread and baking and taking care of your sourdough starter, and then like
it's a whole job in itself.
right, and then with me doing jujitsu, like trying to do jujitsu like 4 times a week, and edit videos for the podcast, and making sure that we, you know, do stuff with the podcast. I mean, you know, that's difficult in and of itself. And then also spending time with my friends, you know what I mean? I think that's important too.
And having like alone time too, like mixed into all of that. So it very quickly can be put on the back burner.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like this one bleeds into the scheduling podcast. That should be our next podcast. We talk about is how we schedule stuff to make sure we do the things that are important to us. But like, I wanted to say just, and this will be like kind of like the caveat we use for the scheduling podcast, but you know, time has gotten to the point for us where it feels like it goes by so quickly. Like the days go by slow, but the weeks go by like so fast. So we actually got these like calendars that we have called Weeks of Our Lives.
It's a bit morbid.
It is a bit morbid, yeah. But it puts your life into perspective too.
It goes into the concept of like memento mori, the
So-
Latin phrase for like remember that we must all die or something like that.
Can you explain what the calendars are like, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, so it basically starts from like 0, like I think it's 0 or 1. I don't
Zero.
know. Zero
Zero.
to like we picked one that was like age 90.
Yeah, so it goes
I'm like,
goes
I'm
down.
gonna try and make it 100, but
Yeah, right.
but if we make it to 90, we won. But basically every week you fill in one of the little squares that I still haven't done.
Yep.
But you
What
can,
does each one of the squares mean, Danny?
So each square means a week of your life. So it basically puts it in perspective when you look at it as a whole. Like you can see like a quarter of your life has already passed.
So for people that are just listening, imagine from left to right is weeks, right? So there's 52 boxes going across. And so each 52 boxes, there's 52 weeks in a year. So it's each year of your life. You start from the day you're born. So I'm 26. So whenever I filled mine in, I went
I do
to...
question that.
Because I can't remember anymore. I stopped caring. But, you know, I filled it all the way down to the 26th one. You know, I think we got them like right after my 26th birthday.
So like each row is a year.
Yeah, it's 52 weeks. Yeah, and so like when you see the thing, it's like imagine like what's the little Scantron things you used to fill in the bubbles on, but imagine it's like filled in like 26 out of 90 years. So like basically almost a third of it is filled out. So it really puts into perspective when you look at it and you go, wow, I've lived almost a third of my life. Like, are the things that I'm doing with my life things that I love to do? And excuse me. And am I making steps to do the things in my life that I want to do? It kind of is just like a visual reminder of like, hey, cut out the bullshit, do what you love, you know?
Like you don't have the time to screw around.
Exactly. Because like, I don't know about you. I mean, part of the reason the name of my podcast is Somehow We're Adults is because like, next thing you know, I looked up and I'm like, oh shit, I'm like an adult.
What do I do?
Yeah, I'm like an adult.
Like, who let me be an adult?
Where's the instruction manual on this,
Yeah.
bro? And yeah, I think those are a great thing, but you just realize the weeks fly by, and like time just goes by so quick, and if you don't plan and take care of your date nights and making sure that you spend time with your significant other, it's going to make your relationship worse because you're going to hear about it. Speaking from a dude's perspective, you're going to be like getting your ass chewed.
We haven't gone on a date in a while.
Not even that. Like, I feel like you don't like me and blah, blah, blah,
Like,
blah, blah.
are you mad at me?
Exactly. Literally. And you're like, oh my God, how come you don't ever take me on a date? There's going to grow resentment. There's going to be all these like, you know, things that are going to happen. And, you know, it's just better to plan to take them out every once in a while. It doesn't, I mean, at least for me, I'm pretty lucky. It doesn't have to be anything important. Just doing something where you are, when I'm thinking about doing something that you would enjoy, or just trying to make an effort, in my opinion, is enough for you. What do you think?
Flowers would be nice every once. No, I'm kidding.
In this economy, we spend $50 on flowers that are gonna die. Here's a plant. Here, or I'll get you a pair of scissors.
Please.
I'm gonna get you a pair of keychain scissors, so that way you can cut pieces of plants off.
Everywhere I go, I always take like little cuttings of plants, and it's embarrassing to him, but
Yeah,
I just need to carry around scissors everywhere.
Yeah,
I go.
we went to a farmer's market yesterday, and you're
Like,
walking by a
can you cut this out?
walking by a restaurant, and she's like, "Oh my God, like, hey, can you break this?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, is that steal? Like, I feel like it's stealing."
I mean, it's nature.
Someone paid for those plants.
Yeah, but as long as I'm not stealing it from like a nursery where like that is their full income, I don't feel bad.
You are taking from a nursery because you're stealing from someone else, and you're preventing you from
But
going to the nursery.
They're not selling the plants.
Okay.
And I don't steal them if they're not like fully grown to where they can spare a couple leaves, okay?
Jesus. So, can you explain like what to you a date night or a date would consist of?
Just literally anything where it's like one-on-one quality time.
Yeah.
It can be anything from like, okay, we were planning on like knocking out some chores tonight, but instead like let's just sit on the couch and watch like an episode of our favorite show. Or let's just go for a walk, drink a coffee. Like, even just, like, drinking coffee. Like, it doesn't even have to be, like, a full specific, like, date. Just, like, little chunks of time where we're just dedicating to being together and friends and not, like...
Yeah. Now, have you ever considered, what if somebody has kids?
I think it's still important to have...
Like, would it be, like, a family date night, then?
I mean, I think there's a time and a place for like family date nights, but I think there's also like important for your kids to see you spending quality time with just your husband.
Yeah, I think it should be like alternated.
Like I've heard of like people doing like couch time where like yes, the kids can play and like have fun and like do their thing, but for a set amount of time, like mom and dad are sitting on the couch just talking. Like you cannot interrupt unless you're like dying.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for your
Depends
kids.
on the kid's age, too, at that point.
But I think it's also important for the kids to see you interacting as a couple versus always being mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly. So, because you want to be, if you're an example to your children, you want to make sure that you're an example of what a relationship should look like as well. Yeah, I think the alternating kind of thing, because like we kind of try to do a date night or, you know, something it's about every 2 weeks to 1 week, right? And I feel like if you did that, like if you with kids, if you like, okay, every 2 weeks we're gonna do a family date night, and then the next 2 weeks we're gonna do, you know, they're gonna go spend 3 hours at their grandparents' house, and we're gonna go on this, you know, we're literally gonna go to McDonald's or something. You know, it doesn't have to be expensive. Like literally, one of my favorite dates is the just drive around date. We're actually gonna be doing that after this podcast, so. You know, that is, I guess you could say that's an expensive date these days with the gas prices. Yeah. It's worth it, yeah. I mean, we could literally go for a walk down the road. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that big of a deal. We could go to your mom's house and like go walk around. Like it just doesn't matter to us as long as we're like holding hands and like talking to each other and like put our phones away.
I feel like also like when we actually plan like a date night, like I get excited when I see it on the calendar. Like I don't know about you, but I'm like, ooh, I'm going on a date. Like,
No, I don't get that at all.
I do.
I'm like, wow, I got to make sure I'm not working on something at this time for the date.
It's just exciting because it's like I know that for like that particular evening, like we're not doing anything that's gonna like burn me out.
It's hard for me because I'm so like, I have so much stuff to do. And as a guy, like you just get all these projects, especially because we're not absolutely wealthy. We're not just rolling in money. So we can't just pay people to do the stuff that needs to be done. That would be amazing if we could. But, you know, it's just the
Your second
reality.
wife takes up a lot of time.
No, my second wife, dude, I can barely handle the first.
Judy.
Yeah, my truck, the big booty Judy. You threw me off track right there. You see that? Gosh.
You're like, oh man, she knows about my real second wife.
I'm like, wow, I'm thinking about my truck now. But, damn, what was I just talking about before that?
Not.
No.
Yourself.
Yeah, because I was talking about being more or less being stressed about all the things I have to get done, and the planning of getting the things done helps a ton. But then when I see that there's a date night, I'm like, it's like one less time I get to work on it. But when I actually get into the date, then I'm like, okay, this is fun. Like, I actually feel like we're like out like pursuing each other again. So,
it just keeps the relationship alive.
Yeah, exactly. It like reignites the fire, you know? Like sometimes our date nights consist of like having leftovers. Like how many Fridays have we had leftovers for dinner?
A lot.
Like just breakfast for dinner.
Not cooking is already like a win in my book.
Yeah, right. So our date night sometimes will be like freaking pancakes.
I know.
Like protein pancakes or like breakfast basically, and then we'll go watch TV and we'll go to bed early. That's one of the best days.
Like 8.
We just run life to the rev limiter so much that it's nice to go to bed early sometimes.
Living on the edge.
Yep. And then what's important to you about all of that stuff? So you get excited about it. Like what does that do for you?
It makes me like, it kind of like grounds me, I guess, in a way. Like it puts things into perspective. Because I feel like I'm constantly like everything needs to get done like right this second. Like it cannot wait. And that kind of forces me to like, okay, like this is what's important right now. Everything else is not what's important. Because I'm a busybody, so like I will create.
Depends on which Daniela you get too, because there's sometimes
if it's overwhelmed Daniela, she shuts down.
She shuts down and she needs a nap. She's on her phone for 8 hours and she's like, I've just done too much.
If it's normal chaotic me, like I'm constantly like working on a project, like I'll rearrange everything just because I feel like it needs to be done.
I think I speak for every dude that ever might be listening to this, or any woman that might be listening to this that is with a dude. We don't like when you move our stuff.
Well, and I ask you 10 times to clean off your nightstand, and you don't clean off your nightstand, and it's been 2 years.
Does it matter that I don't clean it off? I know where everything's at.
You had several warnings.
All right, so I wanted to go through this article too that I pulled up right before we went through here, talking about the 5 of the reasons. Let's see that it's good. So you'll each be happier.
Yep.
Factual. It's one of those things that makes you stop and enjoy life. I mean, too many people are either too worried about the future, too worried about the past, and it's hard to be present. And I feel like when we're on our dates, it's so easy to be present.
Yeah.
It gives it. I think that's probably the best way to say that, right?
Like we're just like silly and having fun, which is not like.
Yeah.
I mean, we always are, but like it's also like not like your daily mundane. Like,
yeah. We're not going to jiu-jitsu. We're not like,
knocking things off a list.
Exactly. Like, we're not going grocery shopping, which AKA I fucking hate, or well, that's the wrong. What should I have said there? Not AKA. Whatever. But basically, I hate grocery shopping. Danny does too. It is sometimes that is like a little date for us because we get to spend time together, but like it like takes energy away from me. Our date nights give me energy. Grocery shopping sucks. I hate it.
Also, like I could eat chicken nuggets and French fries for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of my life.
Yeah, you're a basic bitch.
I am a toddler when you don't cook.
You're a basic bitch. You're a basic bitch. All right. Number 2, you'll be investing in divorce-proofing your marriage. Mm-hmm. So like, which we plan on doing a one of these days, a podcast about financing as a couple, or finances as a couple. That's the number one reason people are divorced, because there's communication issues, right, about their finances. So divorce proofing your marriage, like, I don't know, you have to like that person. You know what I mean? Like, that's important. So you have to make sure you do things to where you like that person. And you know, also a relationship takes work. You're never going to meet somebody who's been married for a long period of time who says it was easy, because it's not. It's not. But the easy thing is never going to be worth it. So it needs to take work, but taking the work is what makes it so beautiful.
I feel like over time it gets easier because you know how to like handle the other person. You should be able to. At least in my opinion, like it's gotten easier than like year like 2 or 3.
They were different, you know, because like when we first started dating, the first 2 years, there's like that honeymoon phase. You remember, like, I vividly remember saying like, oh my God, I don't see how I could ever be mad at you. And like now I'm like, I can go a whole week, bitch. Just kidding. You know what I mean though? There was a point in our relationship where I was just like, oh my gosh,
don't breathe around me.
My heart used to race when I see you because I'd be so excited to see you. Now it races because I'm like, this bitch. I'm just
like your blood's boiling.
Now my heart starts racing, and it's because I've got, like, you raise my blood pressure. Not in a just kidding. No, just kidding. Where did she put my flashlight?
Same here.
Dude, I was looking for my headlamp the other day because I needed to go outside and work on the truck, and Haley was like, where the fuck did she put it? I was mad at you at that time, so I wouldn't ask you for it, and I'm just like zigzagging. I'm looking like a pinball around the house, just looking for my freaking flashlight.
To be fair, I'll specifically tell you where something is, and it's like, you ask me 5 minutes later, where'd you put this? And I'm like, I have already told you this.
You are exaggerating.
And stuff that I've never touched. You're like, where is this? Huh? Do we even own car cleaning stuff?
You're exaggerating. Okay, so what I was going to say was that that's not true. It's not 5 minutes after you moved it. No, you'll rearrange everything on a Saturday when I'm hunting, and then I come back, and next thing you know, it's been a month, and you've told me while I was cooking dinner after hunting where you moved everything really quickly, and you'd be like, oh, I moved this thing here, 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 this thing here. Don't ask me where I put it because I just told you everything. And then 2 months go by, and I actually need the thing you said you moved, and I'm like, hey, where'd you put that? And you're like, oh my God, you don't listen. I told you where I moved it. I'm like, Jesus, fuck!
I'm a tour guide for our house. That's it.
You're a what?
A tour guide.
Pretty much. Pretty much. The bad part is and you didn't tell this to the people, and I'll rat you out on this, is that you'll move something, and when I ask you 2 months later where you moved it, you go, oh, I never moved it. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I found it. And I did move it.
But, okay, that's happened with you, too, where you're like, where did you put this? And it was really you, not me.
Yeah. So we just have to have patience for each other in those moments. All right, so divorce proofing your marriage. I need your comments on that.
Well, like you said, you gotta like the person, so keeping your relationship alive is kind of important. It's also like when big issues, like, it's a good time to bring up like things that you want to talk about without it being like in a hostile environment. Because we've kind of talked about like some serious stuff when we're on dates, but it doesn't feel as serious as it normally would.
Yeah, we're like less stressed about it.
Like, it's weird. Like, we can very quickly come to a conclusion, like, without feeling...
Yeah, because you're in a heightened state of good emotions, so it's easier to talk about bad things. Or not, it's never bad things. It's always like stuff that like needs to be dealt with.
And I feel like you always like build memories too, which is always good in a relationship. Like,
it's fun to be spontaneous too when you're out on those dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as people that plan a lot of stuff too, surprising to some of our friends, we like to be spontaneous, but we like to have time to be spontaneous. So, number 3 on this list, your sex life will be better. Danny, go. I mean, it kind of just falls hand in hand, right?
I feel like it just goes with it. Like, I don't know how to comment on that.
It just, Here, I'll just read what it says, and then I'll make this less uncomfortable for people. When you make the investment to consistently spend time together every week, you'll feel closer to your mate, and you'll find them more attractive, too. This combination makes for great sex. The research shows that sexual satisfaction for men is 3.3 times greater and for women is 3.5 times greater simply because of making the commitment to connect with each other every week. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. Those numbers sound right too. I'm just kidding. I mean, it sounds right.
I mean, I feel like it just goes hand in hand, and I feel like it's never a bad idea. So,
Right? And that's from the internet. That's research. Okay, it's not just us just going. I feel like it feels that way. Yeah, no, this is the gut.
it's important.
Science.
It's a big part of the relationship.
And this is one of the big ones that I think helps. Is number 4. Women have increased satisfaction in their marriage, because gentlemen, we all know, happy wife, happy life. So we got to make sure we do the things to make this lady happy because it makes it easier for us.
I feel like being more of like an emotional person, shocker to everyone. I know. I feel like it does just make you like emotionally happier. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know the reason behind it. It just does.
All right, I'll read this because this sounds pretty good too. Women tend to need more social connection than men, and when their spouse regularly prioritizes time with them, women generally feel more connected, supported, and safe. Social scientists have found that women who spend at least one period of couple time a week with their spouse are as much as 7 times happier in their marriage.
That's pretty accurate.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like we're pretty happy in our marriage. So,
Yeah.
and we always make time for each other.
Yeah. I think too many people think marriage is just like a term, but I think it's more like a verb. You know what I mean? Like it's a constant action. You're like constantly, figuring it out and doing things and trying to like navigate, uncharted waters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like, and it's also like just like with your friends, like if they don't put effort into your friendship, like you're not gonna want to seek them out, and you're gonna have like negative feelings towards that person.
There's nothing worse than like asking someone to hang out and you're like wanting to hang out with them and to feel like it's not that same way.
Yeah, like it's a one-sided relationship.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And I feel like that applies to your marriage as well. Like
Exactly.
if you're both constantly trying to just spend like downtime together, like it benefits you overall.
Exactly. I agree with that.
It makes you feel like wanted, like I don't know how to, like it makes you feel like wanted in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody always wants to feel like someone's seeking after them.
Exactly. You don't want to feel like you're like back burner. You know what I mean? Including like friends. I mean, that's a big one. Friends and your people that you value, you want them to value you back the same or more. Well, not even more. You want to feel like that it's reciprocated.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 5, your children will have a better childhood. We don't have children, but I would agree that, growing up that I didn't see my parents really go on date nights. And my parents ended in divorce. So, I feel like those things, just from my perspective, could have helped a ton, and I think that, spending that quality time and actually doing it purposefully makes a huge difference too. And when your children grow up witnessing what it looks like to have a good relationship, that's what they're going to look for. I believe, at least.
Yeah. Or even like just looking back, like I don't really remember like the day to day. I only remember like like family outings or like my parents took us to go eat at X, Y, and Z. Like, and it didn't even have to be. It could have been like McDonald's for all I care. Like, but that's like what I would remember from my childhood versus.
We're just the whole family went out and had fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody went out and had like a big date and like enjoyed it. And then they get those heightened sense of emotions. The kids get the heightened sense of emotions. We used to go on camping trips, and that's why I've told you that I want to get a camper one day and go. And it's probably more cost effective to just get a hotel or an Airbnb when you go out. But there's something about being in like a camper and like being in the woods and like cooking outside or cooking inside. It's almost like it brings the family in closer. And like I grew up, and my brother and mine and my brother's rooms were on like one side of the house, and then our parents' room were on the exact opposite other side of the house. And when we would like go stay in the camper, it was like I was right next to my brother, who was right next to like my parents. Like it was just like my parents' bed was in the back of the camper, our beds were in the front of the camper, but you're in such a small space that like you could hear my dad like turning over in the bed. You know what I mean? Like it was just, I don't know, we were so close. And like if dad got up to like make breakfast, like he was in the kitchen, and the kitchen was where me and my brother were basically sleeping in the camper. So it was just like everybody's up. I don't know. It just felt like more of like a family unit at that point.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you do things during the day in the campground
Not
or
like
around that area or something
all
like
these
that.
kids on their phone. Oh my god, it drives me up a wall.
And even then though, like we played Game Boys and stuff like that too at that time, but like you get limited on how much they want to do that. I mean, we've experienced this through some of our family that like kids, even if they love to play video games, get bored of playing video games. I know I have. And so like it's important that they go out and do things where the real memories come from when you're like out making the memories. You know, so I do have some memories where I played video games as a kid, but like I think it's super important for kids to get out and do things and experience stuff with their own two hands. That physical experience, not just watching it on a screen.
Yep, agree.
And then at the end of the night, you cuddle up and on the couch, and the whole family watches a movie in a cold camper after you're sunburnt from Fort DeSoto. Whatever. I'm speaking from memory. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's nice.
I feel like that's like what makes life.
Yeah.
That's the important part of it.
Yep. And you go experience and travel. So, yeah, I think it's definitely nice. Definitely nice. So
Is that all on your little article?
that was just only 5 reasons. And, it just gives us something to, like talking points to go over too, because it kind of better frames what we were already kind of saying. So,
Yeah.
my recommendation is just try and do a date night like every 1 to 2 weeks.
At
and then,
minimum once a month.
right. And then try and make sure that, it could be going to the beach. It could be going for a walk. Literally, like we could go to a park and walk around. Like it doesn't have to be much. It doesn't have to be much. Just walking around your neighborhood sometimes, if you're in a good area, is nice. So, we've had ones where we literally go sit in a vehicle and just have coffee and like look at trees. I mean, more or less, because
Those aren't as fun to me, but yes.
But for me, I get to spin it with both my wives, my truck, and you. Just kidding.
So I don't like them.
They're fun. We get to talk. It's a good time to just spend quality time
Yeah.
together away from distractions. So, all right, Danny.
All right, let's go on a date.
All right, sounds good. We'll go drive around and look at houses that we can't afford. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. This episode of Somehow We're Adults is over. But if you'd like to support the podcast, you can subscribe to one of the levels of the Patreon, where we will release bonus episodes that can't be found anywhere else. Any of the money that we get from the Patreon would be used to upgrade old equipment, as well as get new gear so that we can make the best podcast for you to tune into. You can also follow the podcast Instagram at Somehow We're Adults, where I share clips and content about the podcast, and the link in the bio will take you to any of the Somehow We're Adults pages. I encourage you to check out another one of the episodes if this is your first time listening, and if you're a repeat listener, thank you for your support. I love making the podcast, and I hope you tune in for future episodes of Somehow We're Adults.